Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, we ask that you kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices or place them on silent. Thank you.
Adonai Madam Vatidaveihu Ben Enosh Vachashveihu Adam Le'avel Dama Yamav Kitzel Over Babokeh Yatzitz V'chalav Le'erev the Molevi Ovish Tashe Beinosh Adaka Vatomer Shuvu V'nei Adam. We gather this morning with all our hearts, souls, and minds, with many mixed emotions, certainly with the emotion of knowing that Richard is no longer with us in this life, but certainly acknowledging that he is on his way in all God's speed to be with those who have gone before him in a reunification of love. And also with the knowledge that in Judaism, someone never really dies. Their successes and achievements, their likes, their loves are passed down, what we call the dor vador, from generation to generation. And certainly it is custom and tradition in Judaism to name boys and girls who have just been born after those that we cherish so very, very much. So I can certainly, absolutely foresee in your homes, in years to come, no rush, there will absolutely be many little Richards running around, or whatever the female of Richard is. And what? The female of Richard is, I don't know. And they will be taught. They will be taught about Dad. They will be taught about Grandpa Yankee. They will be taught about his life, and those little boys and girls will have the honor of learning about him as we will learn more about him in a celebration of life today. So as King David wrote over 3,000 years ago that God will walk us through the valley of the shadow of death, King David never wrote in the 23rd Psalm that God will leave us there. So one day when your days of mourning are more remote, what will be left in your hearts are simply the joy-filled and the happy memories of Grandpa Yankee. And on that day, you will know that God has walked you through into a valley of remembrance and celebration. So if you know the traditional words of the 23rd Psalm, We say them out loud together in English together. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. For thou art with me, thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I shall dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Who among us here has not passed through our own trials and bereavements? Some of us bear fresh wounds on our own hearts and therefore feel more keenly the kinship of sorrow with those who love and will always love Richard the most. Others of us whose mourning is more remote still recall when a silent hug or a word or a thought brought comfort to our sorrowing hearts. All things pass. All that lives must die. All that we prize is but lent to us. We are travelers on the same road that leads to the same end. So we begin words of celebration of love with Paul.
Good morning. Thank you all for coming. Give me a minute. I'm sorry. Richard J. Greenberg has had many titles throughout his life. Business owner, entrepreneur, teacher, advisor, friend, colleague, confidant, husband, brother, son, Grandpa Yankee, a couple I'd rather not mention here. However, none were as important or as meaningful as Dad. My dad was a great man. He always was there for us, to support us, and help us through whatever we are going through in life, the good or the bad. You always knew he would be there for you and have your back, and he always told you what he thought, whether you liked what he had to say or not. My dad was born in the Bronx in 1951 and eventually moved to Lakewood, which is where Dad grew up. He then went to graduate from Trenton State College and joined the Army. My dad was full of lessons. He always used the opportunity to teach. Whether that be at his financial seminars he taught right down the road at BCC, or when he was teaching my sister Lisa to drive on Route 70, and he used the idiot passing us in the snow as an example. FYI, we realized that idiot was my mom after she passed us. Sorry, Mom, I didn't know you'd be here. True story. True story. Couldn't make that up. Even in his own faults and failures, he would use those opportunities to teach us and show us what not to do and how to do things differently. My dad always tried to make you laugh. Always wanted to bring a sense of humor to the situation. Whether it be a bad joke or a lighthearted gesture or something a little more inappropriate, for example, his world-famous meatloaf. We definitely laughed a lot more than we cried with him, which I feel should be everyone's ultimate goal in life. Dad was a fighter, whether it be the multiple cancers he faced and other health issues, or if he just thought he was right. If you were on the other side of that fight, good luck, because you were definitely in an uphill battle. Dad built multiple successful businesses, whether it be Videograms in the 80s and early 90s to RJG Financial Services in the 2000s, where he knew every client, hundreds of them, by their first names, their families' names, what was going on in their lives. Dad had a huge heart, cared and loved deeply everyone he met. From his partner and wife, Marietta, who he traveled the world with, skiing and sightseeing, going to countless concerts and shows for the last decade. And for the last decade, she has been relentlessly by his side, caring for him throughout his health battles. He talked about, just this weekend, how much fun he had on New Year's, going to dinner with friends, the movies. Thank you for making the last week of his life so special. To his friends, some who are joining us and some who couldn't make it, he loved keeping in touch with everyone and reminiscing about good old days. To Kylie, his caretaker for the last 6 months, has been his home caretaker, secretary, cleaner, friend, confidant. Thank you so much for all of you done for him and Valerie to make things easier. To his brothers and sisters, to his brothers, Steve, Laura, and Andy. He loved the three of you so much. He even used you guys to teach us that no matter how long it is and what happens in life, you can always go home to your siblings. Uncle Steve, you were always the big brother, dishing out great advice. He still looked up to you and always was telling me we should run it by Steve. He said, after all, Steve gives the best advice. Just ask Steve. His sister Laura, who the three of us would have countless Yankee chats for all 162 plus games, mostly her bashing Nick Swisher and John Collar Stanton. He would say Laura has just as big a heart, if not bigger, than his mom, my Grandma Dot. He can always call her for love and support, and who helped us so much through his treatments this last year. Thank you, Aunt Laura. To his little brother Andy, who he loved so much and gave Dad 11 extra years on this earth by donating him stem cells in 2014 during his first bout with cancer. To get to be with his grandchildren and enjoy life that much longer. There truly is a stairway to heaven for you, Uncle Andy. And it says here, pause for Led Zeppelin music, per Andy. I guess we didn't make that happen, so I'm sorry. Next time. As always, Uncle Andy, you were always there to help him laugh to the very end, Sunday, when we were sitting in his room laughing with him. And to your children and his nieces and nephews and great-nieces and nephews, his love was endless for you all. To his grandchildren, Evan, Kyle, Ethan, Dahlia, Zayden, Ryan, Nora, and Adam. He loved you all more than anything else. At the beginning of every financial seminar that I was with him at, he'd put a picture of you guys up with him pumpkin picking at Johnson's Farms. And he told attendees that this is what life is about. Grandchildren, and enjoying your time with them. I mean, it was a great sales pitch for financial planning, but he truly did believe that. Whether it be going out on his boat, the Yankee dugout in Wildwood, a ride in his slingshot, or the family trips to Great Wolf Lodge, the time with you is what meant the most. He loved attending all your sports, concerts, and recitals. He always bragged about you guys to anyone and everyone he met. He was, is and always will be your biggest fan. Sitting by his bedside on Sunday, guys. Me and him were talking. And he was sharing some thoughts and memories, and I want to share them with you. He talked about Evan. Evan was the first to make him a grandpa, and to watch him grow up, these are his words, to the amazing wonderful young man he has become has been an honor for him. He talked about the time he took, and this is going to the inappropriateness, Ryan and Zayden to Hooters when they were younger than they are now, and had them sing happy birthday to them. How Ryan, up to the very end, was always calling him every day to say hi to his grandpa Yankee. Or the time he took Kyle, unbeknownst to Kyle's mom, to have a Whopper. Not exactly gluten-free or healthy, and promptly got yelled at by Kyle's mom. Kyle was always there to make him laugh. Always good for a laugh, he said. He talked about Dahlia, who was his first granddaughter, to watch her grow into the compassionate, beautiful young woman she has become, and how her and Zayden would come down to his room to see, over the last year, to see if Yankee needs anything, and how Zayden was always up for a game of chess or just to chat to keep him company, how much that meant to him. Talked about Ethan. Such a wonderful heart, such a lovable kid. It was just a pleasure to spend time with and hang out. He talked about Nora, who has the best sense of humor and is an extremely dangerous combination of Jessica's heart and my personality. He also added very athletic, but at that point, Nooch, he was heavily medicated, so I don't know if I'd go by that. I said that, and he gave me a gesture that I won't repeat. He talked about Adam. He said, quote, "What can I say about Adam? He has a level of maturity beyond his years. The most analytical mind of anyone he's ever met, and just watched and was just in awe watching him work and think things through." He talked about his son Sammy, his son-in-law Sammy, who he looked to as his own son and loved and respected, and how they often reveled in their shared love of fast toys like boats, jet skis, quads, motorcycles. If it was fast and loud, they both wanted it. He talked about my wife Jessica, who he loved and treated like his own daughter from day one, whether it be busting on her love for the Red Sox and taking her to her first game at Fenway, or the fact that she always kept me in check didn't hurt too. He always reminded me how lucky I was to have her by my side, and I couldn't agree more. He talked about his stepson Jimmy, who he loved like a son and was so proud of what you became. He always boasted about his son, the cop, and how brave he is. If Jimmy's name made the police blotter for a good reason, he would be sending it out to everyone. His words. He's truly not gone, though. As we all have a little bit of my dad in us. Lisa, his firstborn, his princess, she made him a grandpa first. She kept him on his toes. He said she inherited his entrepreneurial spirit. I butchered that word, I'm sorry. To Valerie, his baby girl, who was always his baby girl. He always said she was the most compassionate of us, and that especially showed itself in the end. For the last year, she has been his caregiver, by his side, making sure all his needs have been met. I don't think it can be overstated how much I am and he was in awe of everything Valerie, Sammy, Zaynab, and Dahlia have done for him. She definitely inherited his huge heart and love. To me, he was the ultimate mentor, from being a business partner at RJG, or him just showing me how to fix and repair stuff around the house, and reveling in the latest and greatest useless gadgets. We would buy. There isn't a day that goes by I don't see his influence in my life. I love and will miss you, buddy. Except I can't quite nail that meatloaf recipe. In case anyone was wondering, I got his inappropriate jokes and poor sense of comedic timing. My dad lived an amazingly full life. Loved going to Yankee games, collecting baseball memorabilia, going to see stadiums, traveling all over the world for business and pleasure. And as he wanted me to quote, I've loved, I've laughed and cried. I've had my fill, my share of losing. And now, as tears subside, I find it all so amusing to think I did all that, and may I say, not in a shy way, oh no, not me. I did it my way. Thank you.
Certainly, if you had the honor and the privilege of knowing Richard, he went by many names of love to you, a silly name, a formal name, a nickname. When we say the words, we will remember. Please say the name that he was known to you as in this life, that you will have the blessing of calling him when you have the honor of thinking and dreaming about him. Say that name out loud. In the rising of the sun and at its going down, we will remember. In the blowing of the wind and in the chill of winter, we will remember. In the blueness of the sky and in the warmth of summer, we will remember. In the rustling of the leaves and in the beauty of autumn, we will remember. In the beginning of the year and when it ends, we will remember. When we have joys we yearn to share, we will remember. So long as we live, he too will live, for he is now a part of us, as we will always remember. We call up with love, Valerie. Oh, okay. And Lisa.
Hi, everyone. My name is Lisa. I'm Rich's oldest daughter, but he never used the word Lisa. As long as I can remember, he's called me Leo. When I was young, we watched a TV movie about babies being switched at birth, and he told me my mom had a boy named Leo, but she really wanted a girl, so they switched the babies before they left the hospital. This was my dad, always a jokester. Many of his jokes were inappropriate, and if you know my brother, you know the apple doesn't fall far from the tree. My father went all in on everything. He always worked hard, and he had an entrepreneurial spirit. See, I got the word right. He was very proud of what he created on the business side. He loved his financial clients like they were his best friends, and many became just that. In fact, anyone who met Rich became one of his best friends. He genuinely cared about people and loved to connect with many. He also loved to throw a party. It brought him such joy to bring his friends together, family, clients, for his annual holiday party. He was a great dad. I have so many fond memories. Ice skating at Rockefeller Center for the holidays, trips to Disney, Billy Joel concerts, and yes, the infamous meatloaf. that many of my friends still ask about today. And he, as great as father as he was, nothing compared to the type of grandfather he was. This was another area that Rich was all in, known as Grandpa Yankee. His grandchildren were his life. Everything he did was for them. He made it to baseball games, basketball games, soccer, football, volleyball, softball, and even karate classes. He was so proud of each and every one of them and told them often. If you know my father, he's very competitive. Just a few weeks ago, my oldest son was nominated for Player of the Week during his soccer season. I was taking Dad to his hospital for his weekly appointments when this article came out in the newspaper. You were able to vote for the player, and once he saw that, he was fixated on it. He would vote over and over and over again, kept asking me if I was voting, and when the other kids would come up, take the lead, he'd say, "Who's this damn Michael kid?" He must have voted for Evan 100 times that day. Each summer, he would have the grandkids visit at the beach for their own special weekend to do whatever they wanted. In fact, some of my children's fondest memories are when Grandpa Yankee took them to Hooters. And it just so happens that whenever they would go, regardless of the date, it would just so happen to be someone's birthday, so all the waitresses would come over to sing to them. There were so many memories. Summertime boat rides, Yankee games, sleepovers, vacations, slingshot rides, and Nerf gun wars. All in. He was passionate about the things he cared about, and yes, sometimes stubborn too, but he was also a fighter. He fought this disease for 11 years. My middle son, Kyle, recently had to write a paper on someone he saw as a hero, and of course he wrote about Grandpa Yankee. He said he was grateful that Yankee fought so hard for the last 11 years because it gave him 11 more years of memories. We are so grateful for my Uncle Andy, who helped to give him those 11 years. We're so grateful to Etta, who loved and cared for him throughout his illness. We are grateful for our Aunt Laura, who helped us care for Dad in this final year. We are grateful for Uncle Steve and all of our cousins who have loved and supported us all throughout. I know nothing would make Graham and Gramps happier than to see everyone coming together, supporting each other. I know they were so excited to be reunited with Dad. My sister and my brother and I held his hand until his final breaths, and I know he went right from our hands into their arms. We are all feeling an enormous amount of grief, and that's just because there was an enormous amount of love. Grief and love are incredibly intertwined, so I remind myself and my boys that of course this is hard because he was so loved. Minutes before he passed, I played Billy Joel's song Lullaby in the hospital room. The song ends, "In your heart, there will always be a part of me. Someday we'll all be gone, but lullabies go on and on. They never die, and that's how you and I will be. Continue to watch over us, Dad, and love us from above. Forever and always, your Leo."
Mine is super short and sweet because I can't get through anything like that. Thank you for all coming. There are so many people here who at one point or another meant the world to my dad. And I know he's smiling. My mind's short. And I know he's smiling down, thankful for everyone that came to celebrate his life today. I have so many wonderful memories of my dad over the years, although I am most blessed for the last 10 months of his life, as I had the honor of having him live in my home and allowing me and my family to care for him day in and day out. There were some tough days, but they don't outweigh all the special memories we were able to make with him in our home. While I always considered myself as having a close relationship with my dad, nothing compares to how close we became over the last 10 months, and I am grateful and thankful for that. Now, me and my family have the honor of walking into our home each day, remembering him in our home as it was his as well. I love watching my kids help care for him each day and the bond they grew together. He is loved by so many and will be missed an immeasurable amount. I will try to cry tears of happiness and not sadness as time passes, but I can't make any promises, even though I did promise him on that last day that I will not keep crying and I will be strong, which were his last words to me. Thank you again for everyone who made the trip to say goodbye to our amazing father. Thank you.
And to the family, you have already started to fill out all these forms that simply must be done on behalf of Dad, and you will continue to fill out all this paperwork just because. And on all the forms will be Dad, Richie's date of birth. And most of the forms will be followed by a little dash, and then his date of passing. Certainly it is of the utmost importance to remember his birthday, to each year remember his heavenly birthday. And certainly in Judaism, the date of passing each and every year to light the yahrzeit, the remembrance candle. But even more important than those two bookend dates is that little dash. For that little dash is a symbol of why all of us are here today with so much love. That little dash is a symbol of a life so well lived and to be remembered from generation to generation. That little dash is a symbol of so much given, and certainly, as we will hear and have heard today and will hear for years to come, so much received. So as you continue to fill out all these forms that simply must be done, look at those two dates that surround a life, but more importantly, look at that dash. For that dash is why we are here with tears of joy and tears of remembrance. And on that, we all say, Amen. If you are able to rise for a prayer of our departed, we rise now. Emore rachamim shochein b'amromim hamitzerei menucha nechona tachat kanfei השכינה עם קדושים מטורים גזרה רקיע מזהירים ברחמים יסרנו בסתר כנפיו לעולמים ביצרו החיים נשמתו אדוני ונאמר Amen. In the space provided, once again, please say the name that Richard will forever, in love, be known to you as compassionate God. Eternal Spirit of the universe, grant perfect rest in your sheltering presence too. Who has entered eternity, O God of mercy, let him find refuge in your eternal presence, and let his soul be bound up in the bonds of everlasting life. God is his inheritance. May he rest in peace. And let us all say, you may be seated. I'll see you later. Have a good weekend. Shabbat shalom. Okay. All right.